So I'm gonna spin twice, start with the character in the spin, and then I'm gonna match it with the second spin to the style. This video is brought to you by Huion's back to school sale. Get yourself a Canvas 13 or a Canvas Pro 16 or any number of other awesome deal. Links in the description and more about that later in the video. Let's get this party started. Character. Rick! In Canto? We don't talk about Uncle Rick. First things first, we need a reference of both. As part of this exercise, it's really fun to sort of brainstorm how this character would have actually been depicted in a story like Encanto. Like imagining a universe where Rick Sanchez was never invented for Rick and Morty, but they decided that this very pale professor that looks a little bit like Doc from Back to the Future somehow ends up infiltrating the Madrigal family. His magical power would be that his brews do terrible things to people.
Hey, here, try this. Try this. It'll make you feel right as rain, Morty.
So, jumping straight into roughly blocking the colors in on Rick, and then I can just sort of refine and build up from there. This is my foundation done. I know it looks a little rough around the edges, but this is where we can go in and create that Pixar look. I'm gonna start off by adding a little more depth in the shadows and punch in the highlights, and then really sharpen up the division between these areas, even a little more pink around areas of the face. The difference now is that to smooth things out and create more rounded shapes on the surface, I'm using my eyedropper to pinch and paint and smooth out all of the connecting creases and silhouette edges, which will slowly create a more blended uniform look. Now it's just a matter of carrying through that same process to the rest. Now really the finishing touches just come down to adding that little bit of Rick grossness. Something green stuck in his teeth. An unnerving colored spill gently washed over his apron. A little bit of eerie shadowing to his eyes. And that is my Rick Sanchez in the style of Encanto. All in all, I think that is a strong start and I'm keen for number 2. You gotta give it a good spin. Cthulhu! It's Cthulhu! In the style of DC. All right, let's do this. So I thought with my depiction and in a way to mix the two, especially because they work stylistically together so well, I mean, obviously they must. Cthulhu's already appeared in DC Comics. I would create Cthulhu as an original character in the DC world. As if Lovecraft had never created Cthulhu, but DC Comics had. And in that spirit, and of course with DC Comics being all about their heroes and villains, I thought Cthulhu could be a humanoid and very magical, maybe alien villain. Now when I started to draw his squid tentacles on his face, he very quickly started to sort of look like buff Santa Claus. So I thought I'd wind this back and go a little more suggestive in terms of the tentacle. Maybe a mouth that, like that part of the Matrix where Neo's trying to open his mouth and it's all gooey and sticking together, is a little more monstrous in and of itself. And we have fewer of these face tentacles, but they act a little more intentionally. Let's jump into some line work. Well, this is Cthulhu, so you can bet that once I do my basic line work to do the general construction of this character, I'm going to go throughout and add full areas of pitch black and then from there push out into cross-hatching and texturing to add all the grit that my comic book Cthulhu needs. The base line work looks pretty cool and sort of outlines obviously the idea of Cthulhu, but it's going to be the shading that really brings this together and makes it make sense, especially in the style context. But to do this as clearly as possible, I switched the line work that I'd done over to a really bright red as a layer on top of what I would now use to do the shading. And I start off by basically blocking all of the areas of pure black. Picked a light source, in this case, sort of behind Cthulhu, just so that all of the dark and shadowy areas can be in front of the character, masking a lot of him, making him look a bit more ominous. And then with all of that placed down, I could move on to adding more detail, like visceral areas of the anatomy and texture on the skin. Now with a heavy solid black shading put in, once I hid my red lines again, yes, I lost a bunch of the detail, but man, I brought in a whole bunch of mood, and that's exactly what I was after. So on a new layer and switching over to a dirty ink brush at a small size, I use this to add some cross shading and basically gradienting from the solid black with some sort of midtones and textures to smooth it out a little bit and add even more grit. It's time to add in just that little pop of color, adding a base tone throughout the whole thing, and then gently brushing in some gradients and highlights, comic book style. And with the general coloring of Cthulhu done, there is one last thing that I need to do to give him that last bit of pop: make the eyes demonic and scary. Painting white in the middle and the indication of a sort of star silhouette. I think this sort of helps to create a cosmic magic feel. And then going into the layer styles and adding a red glow. That is my Cthulhu! And I'm super happy with how both Cthulhu and Rick have come together, really stylistically different. I'm really enjoying making it happen. Not in the least because of the awesome digital tablet I have to use, and you can get your own amazing Huion tablet for awesome discounts with the sale that they're running now. In their back to school sale running from August 15th to September 15th, they have various discounts on their store with up to 30% off. From affordable pad tablets all the way up to professional display tablets. I highly recommend the Canvas 13 or the Canvas Pro 16. You can grab the Canvas 13 for just over $200 now, making it the best and most affordable entry-level display tablet with Pentec 3.0 full-featured USB-C connection and compatibility with some mobile phone devices as well. You'll be set up for the beginning of your professional potential, but if you're already hitting at that professional level or you want to, the Canvas Pro 16 is the best way to jump into that and keep the portability. Currently running for just under $600, the Canvas Pro 16 has superior color display, bringing your drawings to life. 145% sRGB color gamut, 1200:1 contrast ratio, and 16.7 million color depth, with 178 degrees viewing angle and all of those Pentec 3.0 features. And the whole thing comes with a stand and is portable. So whether you're working in a studio environment or you're on the go, the Canvas Pro 16 will not let you down. Thank you to Huion for sponsoring this video. Check him out with a link in the description. Character 3! Steve from Minecraft. In the style and universe of I am so scared right now. Rick and Morty! It's all come full circle. So first we gather our references. Steve from Minecraft, who's, let's face it, on the simpler side of character design. I mean, Steve, no offense to any Steves watching this, is a pretty generic name, sort of like more suited to someone from accounting than to someone exploring mines. I have really offended someone called Steve right now. Steve, I'm sorry. Please write "you forgive me" in the comments of this video. But I feel like that's a suitable story arc in Rick and Morty. Steve from accounting has gotten into cave spelunking, and all of a sudden is a renowned explorer who can craft things. Sure. I mean, I feel like that would work in the Rick and Morty universe. So forging ahead, I switch over to line work, this time working with my ink liner brush and going down with really thin, crisp lines like they have in Rick and Morty. Now it's time to add some color. I'm gonna hide my construction line work, and this should be really simple, especially compared to the previous two. Magic wand, select all of the skin areas. Expand my selection by 2 pixels so it overlays the lines, create a new layer underneath, and I'm just literally gonna eyedrop a generic character's skin tone. Boom, Steve's skin, done. Next, hair, fill, boom, shirt, boom, boom, pants, boom, beard, boom, pickaxe, boom, handle, and last but not least, boom shoes. And having done that, I only have one question. What are boom shoes and where do I get them? This is, I mean, that's it, that's done. That was a pretty straightforward one. I think that's actually, especially seeing them side by side, if I just go over here and I show the Rick and Morty world and Steve, I think that's perfect. This is our lucky last. It's Randy from South Park! In the style of Pokemon. I am so pumped for this one. This is an amazing one to finish on. Oh my god, Randy from South Park in the style of Pokemon. Well, first things first, we grab some references. Randy from South Park, and a few references, of course, particularly of human characters and gym leaders and whatnot. And slapping him in the middle, I can use him to trace out the proportions to use as a foundation for my Randy the Gym Trainer. But let's switch up the pose a bit. Randy's gonna be holding a Pokeball. And with my reference hidden, this makes a lot more sense in terms of the direction I'm going in, and I just need to bring in as much of Randy as possible. He's got a very iconic mustache that sort of bow ties out to the sides, but also a slightly awkward chin. The rolled up sleeves on the original Randy design is helpful, sort of gives us a ready for action gym trainer, but you know, the rest, not so much. Now we're in anime territory now, so I have to go with those anime eyes. The face looks a little weird being so tall, so I'm gonna pull it to be a little wider, which I think will be more reminiscent of Randy, but at least we do have some defined hair elements in the original Randy design. That slight part down the middle and the two chunks that sort of drop lower than the rest. Now onto the line work and color. This is going to be similarly done to the Rick and Morty one with actually a little more finesse. There's some shading in the Pokemon characters in the actual TV series, and the line work is a little more complicated and aesthetically pleasing. Now with the line work in, I'm actually feeling really good about his face. Like it actually feels like Pokemon, but I think it feels enough like Randy. I think I've kept enough of his personality and design in there. So that's really encouraging as I go throughout the rest of the body and bring in the rest of Randy into our Pokemon world. And now we're on to color. This, like I said before, is the same process, at least in filling all the areas out, but we're adding some shading. So grabbing all the areas of something like the shirt, expanding our selection and grabbing another layer to fill that in. This is already working so well. Oh my God. We're gonna go through and fill in all those areas, and then we're gonna add that extra step of some shading, which will hopefully Pokemonify our Randy a bit more. And there we have it. It's the thing you never knew you needed to see, but now that you've seen it, it's changed your life for the better. And I'm glad to have been able to do that for you. No, honestly, I am weirdly surprised by how well he worked. Like, okay, again, hide Randy. Put Randy in South Park out of your head. Our heroes enter a gym, and here is the trainer. I mean, yeah, it looks like he came straight out of the office that Steve from accounting came from, but it's weirdly fitting. Like, he works with all the other characters, and it's still Randy, which I love. And honestly, I'm just happy with all of these, starting off with our Encanto Rick Sanchez. Boom, Cthulhu from DC Universe, really chuffed with that. And I'm super enjoying seeing them side by side and how different the styles are. I feel like I've pulled this off. I actually am also not sure though, if the first two I did were the best or if in actual fact, I saved the best till last. You know what? I'm gonna leave that entirely up to you. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do next time, both in terms of characters and their corresponding styles and worlds. Otherwise, that is it for this video. I've had an absolute blast. I hope you've had as much fun as I have. Make sure to subscribe for more fun with art and creativity. And of course, check out Huey on tablets, awesome discounts and deals. Link in the description. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I am the very best that nobody has been. Goodbye!